many years ago, when my wife and I first got married, we did what all, couples do is we looked at the rent we were spending in our house and wanting to have children and everything. We decided to invest in a home. And so we bought our starter home, right? Um, as everyone does. And we went in and, got it painted and moved in. Um, Raised the kids there, sent them to school, sent them to college, and then 28 years later, we were still in our starter home. Um, but one day, we woke up and realized that we were not just casual empty nesters, we were true empty nesters, and our post college tuition bank account was growing, and this afforded us the opportunity to start thinking about the next phase of our lives. But we loved our little house and we liked the neighborhood, but it wasn't everything that we needed at that time, and we wanted a bigger yard for the dogs, yada 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 yada. Conclusion: we could spend 60 or $90,000 in remodeling the home to make it more what we want, and that would require that we move out of the house for 6 months or more, which means packing up 28 years of everything, including all the stuff the kids didn't take with them when they moved out. We got to find a rental that takes dogs and cats, and that spent another $50,000 in rent and moving expenses if we could find that place to live. And then we had to make all the decisions about remodeling. So we might as well just buy the house that's more like we want and move, right? Wouldn't that make more sense? Now we're stuck with an old house that would need to be remodeled in order to sell it to get the most profit. And this dilemma is why most business owners and house owners never sell their companies or their houses at the right time. So, welcome to this week's podcast. Today we're going to tackle the biggest decision you have been putting off.
Welcome to your weekly dose of uncommon sense, helpful insights, and tough love. I'm your host, Tom Stimson. The Intentional Success Podcast comes to you through the generous support of Mertz Crew.
Mertz Crew helps top AV companies book quality AV freelancers. Your choice, your rates. We handle contracts, insurance, and payments. You save time, cost, and reduce risk. Start today at mertzcrew.com.
Now on to the show.
So back to my story, right? So we could remodel the house that we're in and then keep it longer, and maybe sell it more easily. Maybe it would be the place that we'd want to live and retire in, or we could sell it on the market more easily. The neighborhood was cycling up, or we could sell our house to a flipper and let them take all of that risk and move into a house that we wanted. So there's two timing deals on the table here, right? And we were lucky, okay? Our timing couldn't have been better, and it was just dumb luck. This is not planning. Nobody controls the marketplace in such a way that they can make this timing work, but we were lucky. We made the decision. We found our dream home. We made an offer, won it, got a bridge loan from the bank that allowed us to move out of the house, the 28-year house, into the new house. So we had the down payment that we needed out of the equity of the old home, and then we had to sell the old home. Now, the old home, thank goodness, my wife knew a flipper, and she says, I'll take the house. And she made a reasonable offer on it, pretty much sight unseen, quick inspection. And we closed both deals within a couple of weeks of each other. So we started living in our dream home sooner. We were moving the stuff out of the old house into the new house while the remodeling trucks were driving up. And we could do all of this because our first home was transferable. And guess what? So was the second home. The second home was move-in ready. It wasn't perfect. We should have put some paint and stuff on it. But in other words, it was valuable enough to us at the time it needed to be. And the home we were selling was valuable enough to the flipper. It had, as they say, it had good bones at the time that it needed to be. So my question for you today is, how transferable is your business? And maybe have you thought about what's on the other side? So most small businesses look at small business owners look at their company as a long-term investment, and they're going to build up equity, and then they're going to sell it, and that's going to be their retirement. And I could do a series of podcasts on why that is the wrong way to look at this. The time to sell your company is the time that somebody wants to buy it. Now, if it's how you define yourself and what you do, I can't help you there. You're going to continue to run the business until you can't run it anymore. And then it's going to be a fire sale. It's going to be a non-ideal sale, but that's the choice that we all make. And we could have been unlucky on our starter home and, taken bottom dollar on it in a really bad market because we were forced to move because of old age, infirmity, whatever it might be. But no, we got lucky, and sometimes business owners get lucky, and we hear about that luck and we think, oh, well, I'll just wait until I'm lucky. Oh, wouldn't that be great? So investors fix up old houses and resell them to well-heeled buyers and or tenants, right? Homeowners sell their houses as is. And even if they put a little lipstick on that pig, right, and make themselves feel better and put some flowers out and put the cookies in the thing and paint the walls, the investor is always buying a fixer-upper. No one's going to live in the house the way you left it. They're going to change that lipstick so fast it'll make your head spin. Your business is also a fixer-upper. Like a house, the buyer is going to look at it as either one, a tear down on a buildable lot, a major remodel from the worst on the street to the top 3 on the street, right? Or it needs a good cleaning and inexpensive repairs to generate a quick ROI. They're not going to see it the same way that you're going to see it. They're not going to embrace the pencil marks of the kids getting older on the closet door when you mark their height, right? Every business could be improved, but owner-operated businesses will always have the most room for improvement. You are living in the thing you need to be working on, and you're not going to do it. You're not going to see what's accumulated around you. You're not going to see the junk. And it's not just the physical junk, it's the mental junk of what's sitting around in your business. Old processes, old ideas, old employees, right? So this is why most owners don't sell at the right time, because they go, I got to fix this up and get it ready to sell. Fixing a company up is the most disruptive thing ever. Who's going to disrupt their business and hope that they now are going to sell at the right time? And so instead, we sit on it, we wait until a sale is forced upon them by economy, old age, illness, or whatever it might be. So let's think about your business and how other people are looking at it like right now. What do investors look at when they want to buy? Okay. Is this company profitable, or could it be made profitable? Just because your company is not profitable doesn't mean it's not attractive to somebody else. People want to put some sweat equity into the house, the business, or whatever it is that they're buying. They want to get a little bit of a bargain. They want to bring something that they're good at. Okay. And fixing something that the owner is out of is a lot easier than fixing something that the owner is still in. So there are certain companies where we want the owner to go away so we can fix the business. So is it profitable, or could it be made profitable? Is it a tear down? Is it a major remodel, or is it a cosmetic fix? Right? This matters. They're all acceptable, but sometimes all we want is a cosmetic fix. Sometimes we are geared up for a major remodel because it's in the right place, it's in the right market, it has the ideal customers that we know we can invest this money and recoup it very, very quickly. And then we look at a business as, does it complement or diversify the holdings that I currently have in such a way that my risk will be reduced, okay? Or that my profits will be even higher. In other words, is this company a potential supplier for another company that I own? Does a company that I own and this new company actually share some of the same clientele, which means I'm going to get more of their buy, more of the market share. Okay. And then we can look at the smaller, maybe less tangible things like, can I elevate the management team, right? So many owners think that they have to elevate their management team in order to sell the business. And you're probably right, but it's the hardest thing you're ever going to do. That's something that the buyer is going to do. Many owners think they need to fix or document process. We're not ready to sell. We need to document our process. Trust me. You've had the business for 28 years. You haven't documented processes. You're not going to document processes, and there's no point in doing that because whoever buys your company is just going to throw them out because the processes are going to be based on the people who are there, and they're probably going to mix up the team or mix up the roles. Okay. And then owners also think that in order to sell, they have to protect their longtime employees from disruption, which is, again, just like saying, I'll sell you the house, but you can't get rid of the pencil marks of my children's height that's on the kitchen pantry door, right? So what do owners really need to do in order to make their businesses more attractive to buyers and investors? You ready? It's a simple list. Demonstrate a consistent or growing profit. In other words, show me that you're working on being more profitable. You don't have to grow revenue to become more profitable. In fact, it's easier to grow profit without growing revenue. However, if you can show revenue growth or improving quality of revenue, that is also very attractive to buyers. It doesn't need to be a finished job. We just need to see that progress and say that there's room for that trend to continue. We need to see that you're anticipating market trends, capital needs, and cash flows, which may be why you're selling. You may have a cash flow problem. This is the right time to sell. I'm anticipating a cash flow problem. We're going to need a cash injection. I don't want that debt. I don't want that risk. I want somebody else to take this on. I might need to buy new equipment. Somebody else may have a different approach, but maybe they have the capital to do that. Or the market trends may be forcing you to change how the business runs, and you're not the right operator for that business. So there's a lot of things to understand, but if you are aware of those things and you can point these things out, I am selling at this time because the market is changing. We need these things. It's going to have this cash flow implication, and this business needs a different operator. That's great information for a buyer and makes you look intelligent, makes you look aware, and it increases the perceived value of your business because you are aware of your surroundings, of your marketplace, right? Now, what they really need to do, owners, is create a model that runs without the owner. So, or have an owner who would make a good employee. Now, if you're my age, and you can guess my age, okay, if you're my age, you are never going to be a good employee. It is too late for you, right? You're not somebody an investor wants to manage. So you need to have a business that runs without you, where you do very little on a day-to-day basis to keep the company going. And that's going to make you more attractive. So continually improve your profit, improve the quality of your revenue. In other words, you're always shedding old pain in the butt, low margin customers, picky customers, and replacing them with new ones. You're paying attention to the market trends. You're aware of your capital needs. You're on top of cash flow. Even if it's not great cash flow, if you're aware of it and you've documented it well, if the problem is clear, then it is probably also solvable. So you're anticipating these issues. And then third, you're making the business run without the owner. Now, you may not be the fanciest business on the block, okay? But you're now going to be a lot more attractive to a buyer, a lot more attractive than somebody who's neglected their business for years and is sitting in a crowded office surrounded by the clutter of decades of running a business, surrounded by people who are the clutter of decades of running a business. Now, I'm a business consultant. I talk about balance. I want you to be scalable, and I want to talk about how balance helps you in this situation. The balance model divides your business into selling, planning, and administration. The selling creates profitable revenue. Planning makes sure that you deliver on the promise to the customer that you sold. And the administration of the business keeps the business running. It keeps the gears oiled, right? Execution is handled by a combination of highly profitable internal direct costs, if you're big enough, and reliable external resources. In other words, you are not in the business of doing shows, you are in the business of getting shows done. And a balanced company, okay, is going to be much, much more attractive because I can add revenue to that business and it will keep up with adding very little resources. Or If I change the revenue, I can easily retool the business because it is structured for the end result, not for a specific set of processes that have been ingrained over the centuries of your business. Balanced companies are more nimble. Planning is planning. The planning process works on a small event, it works on a large event. The knowledge base is centralized. Selling, we can develop new business, we can market to new customers, we can do biz dev, we can service the customers that we have, we can retain customers, we can get extended contracts. We're always delivering a profitably written proposal, executed, signed, that the planning team can take over and run. Execution is actually the thing that's easiest for most of us to do because you just simply put the right people in the field. And the right people in the field to get the show done are different than the people that it takes to plan the show correctly, even though some of them might cross over a little bit. So balance is very important on this. So if you work on getting the balanced model working in your business, reducing overhead, eliminating processes that rely on project managers to push an order through the system, then you will be demonstrating consistent or growing profit. You're going to demonstrate your ability to grow revenue or improve the quality of revenue because you have a better selling process. You're going to be anticipating market trends and capital needs and cash flows because you're going to be used to outsourcing, and you will look at capital investments as a way to make money, not just a way to make your life easier. Okay. And you will have a model that will run without the owner. Okay. So is that owner going to be a great employee? That's another topic. But if the company runs without the owner and the owner wants to keep working, guess what? There's probably a job for him. So I hope you haven't been sitting on a fixer-upper for a long time. But if you have, the fastest way to fix up your business is not to retool the business that you started 30 years ago. It's to take the business you have now and make it scalable, introduce the balance model. You're going to be far more attractive, and it's going to be easier for you to either sell it or keep it, because now you're probably going to like it and it's going to be more fun to work in. There you go. All right. Thanks for listening to my story. We'll talk to you next week.
If you liked this episode of the Intentional Success Podcast, please leave a review and don't forget to like and subscribe. This podcast has been brought to you by the helpful folks at Mertz Crew.